Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. Doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. And joining me on this segment in my own backyard here in Chicagoland is Jason Pittman. He's the founder of Exit Advisor. Jason, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Jason, tell me a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you specialize in working with?
The types of businesses I work with are owner-operated small businesses, typically under 10, 20 million in revenue in the Chicago metro. And these are people that are thinking about selling their business or starting to think about exit planning. What do they need to work on now to get the business more sellable? Or increase the value and really start to form a exit strategy.
Tell us a little bit about those sellers. When they started their businesses, however many years ago, they probably didn't even think of, building it to sell. So how informed are they when it comes to the selling stage? Are they ready to sell, or what kind of questions do you get?
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty mixed bag. I would say some of them are prepared and they've been thinking about it as part of their business planning. And some of them have even started their business with the exit in mind. And then there's some folks that really just started their businesses as a side hustle or as a way of just owning a job, but then it really grew and became a business. So I think some people are ready for the exit. Some people have great businesses and don't even realize they could sell their business.
The inspiration for this series has been the headlines of the Great Resignation. So I'm really curious to hear about our particular area here in Chicagoland. How has the Great Resignation affected folks here? Has it really brought more potential buyers into the market, and what has it done for the sellers?
Yeah, I would say yes, it has brought more buyers into the market because there's a lot of people that are looking for their first business to acquire and they're willing to relocate. So I feel there's more of that than there was even a few years ago. And I think in this area, the changes of the great people that are, the silver tsunami and the great uh,
The resignation.
resignation, as it were.
Hmm.
All these things have played in because I think there's people have just made the decision. Now's the time to retire. Um, for a variety of reasons. Some people are having banner years. They figure this is the year to sell while everything is going up. Some people have quite the opposite story. So in a lot of different ways, everything that's happening right now is made big changes in the industry.
So when a business owner is ready to sell, uh, how far in advance should they start preparing? What does that look like? And what do they need to actually do, if you can give us a 10,000-foot view, to get their
Mhm.
business ready to sell?
I would say you should always be preparing. You should always be thinking about exit strategy because a lot of business owners that come to a broker to sell, we're not planning on selling. Something unexpected happened in life that's forcing them to sell, whether it's a death in the family or health issues or just burnout, whatever the case may be. You should think about the concept of having a sellable business so you can have a safer asset in the event something unexpected happens. And those things that you should be working on are financials, clean financials. Don't be running a lot of personal expenses through the book. If you are, make sure you can substantiate them down to the penny to a buyer and their lender and team. And you should be thinking about excess inventory, excess equipment that you don't really need to have around. You should be thinking about are there any key suppliers or employees that you are very reliant on? Like if you had a hard time replacing one of these things, whether it be in-house or a vendor, you need to be thinking about things like that. And then most importantly, how reliant on you is the business. I mean, a good way of putting it is, do you own a job or do you own a business? So the more to a degree that you own a job and you are in the middle of everything, the harder it is going to be to sell that business.
Great insight. About the sellers, how well informed are they? Like, are there any myths or misconceptions that they hold on to? Have you heard anything strange that maybe people hear and kind of believe about selling a business that may not be quite accurate?
I think there's a big misconception of how easy it is to sell a business. It's not easy at all. And I think people have it in their head that it's something more of a commodity like real estate. If you have a house or an even income producing property, a four flat or a six flat, that is more of a commodity than in a business. So it's more about just finding the right price more often than not to get sold. Whereas a great business turning profits, there's so many moving pieces that can make that unsellable. That's a big thing. That's the big difference, and that's the misconception is that they just think, well, I've got this number in my mind that someone gave me, and all I got to do is just go list it like a house, and then I'm done. But it's, that's probably the biggest misconception.
Now, speaking of a lot of moving parts, as you start to work with these sellers, have you found any common big mistakes that people are making as they start to prepare their business for sale? What have you seen?
I think not reporting all their income. Sometimes it's very tempting to have this side source of income, maybe this one wholesale customer or something, and they don't report that income. Well, now you're complicating things. Or running personal expenses through the business, too much of them, ones that would be hard to substantiate. Think about personal vehicles, maybe a vacation home, things that are not necessary to the business, but you're running it through the expenses anyway. It's just better to leave those things off in the lead up to selling. I mean, as business owners, these are one of the perks, working with an accountant to find out what are the legitimate expenses and deductions we could take to minimize our taxable income. But when you're in the mode of getting your business ready to sell, you should be thinking a little bit differently. You should be showing as much profit as possible and increasing the value, making things really simple and clear for a buyer, almost like if you were staging the house.
Jason, what inspired you to become a business intermediary? Take us back a little bit and tell us how you got started.
Sure. Yeah, my first career was in IT. I worked at the Allstate home office in Northbrook, and I was working in their data center. But somewhere around year 4 or 5, I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. I knew I wanted to do something in real estate or small business. I wanted to work on my own, but I didn't know quite what. And somebody gave me the idea of, maybe instead of starting a business, look at buying an existing one. So I started looking for a business to buy on my own. And back then, I was in my mid 20s at the time, so I was looking at pizza places and hand car washes, and ultimately, I didn't find anything that was a good fit for me. And I ended up hitting it off really well with one of the brokers who I'd contacted on his listing, and it was just coincidental. They were looking for someone that they could train, and that's how I got into the business. That was back in 2005.
Fascinating. Jason, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share in regards to selling a business today?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things I'm trying to get people to think more about is the concept of sellability. I think we ought to be thinking more about what makes a business sellable versus the number we're going to assign to the value. And I think we get too hung up on that number. So I'm thinking questions around driving at what makes a business sellable are the good questions to ask in terms of raising awareness and getting business owners to think about the right things.
Jason, for folks listening who are considering selling their business or someone who wants to buy a business that would like to speak with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Sure. I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. A lot of folks find me on there. And the company is Exit Advisor. And at our website, you can go to exitadvisor.org, and that'll put you in touch with our contact and our current listings and things like that.
This has been terrific. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.
Jason Pittman, he's the founder of Exit Advisor, and this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.